Hey, welcome back to another episode of Drunk Dad. Of course, we know that you just stumbled in here. We understand that this is not on your algorithm. We understand that this is nowhere near any of your shorts. But welcome to YouTube. Welcome to Drunk Dad. We're glad that you're here to hang out. Hey, today is a shot for shot. So let's salute it and let's shoot it.
Oh,
Rum for the tum.
2 shots this early in the morning.
Yeah, we are multiple episodes today.
Yeah, so
This is our second episode. My glass has not been empty.
so so usually how this goes is that we just I don't know. We've never fully explained everything on Drunk Dad, which is fine. I think we're all still kind of figuring this out. But how this goes, how shot for shot works is that we pick a topic. We're not here for super long, just like 20 minutes of the
In and out, man.
Yeah.
We're just gonna rant and rave, and that's it. BS it our way through the whole thing.
Yeah, and I thought a good topic for today would be a very specific point in time in both of our lives,
Okay.
which is the boys' ranch.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Now, I just wanted to briefly talk about that because for several reasons for my sake is like I don't really remember it that well, and that was because I was itty bitty way back then. I was very small.
Yep.
And for you, it was a very important time in your life because you were
Very important time in my life.
yeah,
Yes.
it was very, very important, and it's a very important time in my life because I was like the most formative years of my life,
Yeah.
and it's always weird because sometimes my coworkers come to me like, just like, hey, it was like childhood for you. I'm like, well, I grew up around like 15 other kids who are much older than me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that was my childhood.
Well, let me ask you a question later on. Let me explain what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So there's kids out there that do not have a home, and some of them can't make it into the foster care system. Some of them just bounce around foster care, and they end up in places like the Boys Ranch or a multi-unit dwelling that has people such as me and my wife that we go in and we do everything we can to be mom and dad to up to 10 teenage boys. We only took in teenage boys between the ages of 15 and 18. At 18, they're considered adult and they're out. We discovered our niche with that age group. Like we could work with them a lot faster and a lot better and get them more to what society wants out of an adult. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when me and my wife started being house parents, we started when he was a baby. I mean, he was tiny. He was just a baby. And we walked into a house that already had 10 boys, and it was a what we consider a D-level facility. So they were either getting ready to go to juvie, or they were just now getting out of juvie. They had a hard record behind them.
Right.
And it's not their faults. Usually it's conditions around it. Parents sometimes just don't know how to raise kids. And these kids, they'll either end up on the streets or they end up, stealing to survive or something like that. And then they have no place to go. They get taken away. The parents, whatever happens, but they end up with us.
Right.
And hey, Mir, come here. I gotta tell you something. You want something? And so yeah, when we started this, so I was a minister. I was in ministry, and I felt that my ministry was lacking somewhere, and I got asked to go down and speak to the boys, and I was like, okay, I'll go do it. Sounds pretty cool. I went down there and just fell in love, and there were so many connections that made me feel I needed to be here. And on the trip back, it was like a 45-minute drive from my house. And on that drive back, I picked up the phone and I told your mom, this is what we're going to do. This is where we're going. I was at a very lucrative job. I was making a lot of money at the job that I already had,
Right.
to where your mom didn't have to work. She could raise all 3 of y'all, and she didn't have to work. So we were financially, we were doing really good. And then I'm saying we're going to take this job and between the both of us, we made $22,000 a year.
Oh my goodness.
We didn't make a lot of money,
No, that's not a lot of money.
but we got to live there,
Mm-hmm.
and what do we complain about the most when we go to work? Getting time off. My time off was 4 and 4, 4 days on, 4 days off, 4 days on, 4 days off, which was great. But also at the same time, we could not stay there, and yet we didn't have a place to go to. So it made it kind of rough, And the second place that we went and worked, we moved out to Missouri and went to work over there, and that was 28 days on, 4 days off. And we dealt with boys and girls, teenage boys and girls. And then a new ranch was opening up in Arkansas, and that's closer to my family. My dad's health wasn't doing good, so we wanted to be closer to family. And that is probably the ranch that you remember the most.
That is the ranch I remember the most because so
it was very unique ranch.
Very unique ranch because it was one of the because I do want to I guess lighten the mood a little bit because we do have a lot of proper context now.
Yeah.
But like I do remember that ranch a whole lot because as a kid it was. I guess I was always fascinated from the idea that like you would go from this dirt road that led out to literally the middle of nowhere. Yeah. Still, like you're in the middle of nowhere.
A mile and a half, almost 2 miles of dirt road, and you cross this rickety bridge.
Yeah, this thing is old as hell, and like you drove a school bus over that thing.
Yeah,
and like it was just one of those things where it was fascinating to me as a kid, where it's just like
we lived out in a place. It was a very heavy wooded area, where whenever they would capture a bear in Arkansas, they would bring it to the place where we were living. The largest bear ever killed by a bow was like 30 feet away from where we lived.
Oh my God.
So they would drop off these bears that would cause problems in other areas. They would bring them here and drop them off because you drove out in the woods for, a good, 10 minutes, before we got out there in the middle of nowhere, and it was a old Western town.
Oh yeah, that's another thing about this ranch that I didn't mention here is that that ranch was like an old like Western town. Yeah. It was
it was so unique that movie companies wanted to film there because it was built. It looks like it's in the 1800s or the 1700s, whatever. It had a saloon,
right?
And it had a hotel, and it had an old timey bank on the corner, and it had an old timey church. Everything looked old timey, but when you walked through the door, it was air conditioned.
Yeah, it was refurbished.
Yeah,
I remember
beautiful looking.
What was it? It was like the town inn. There was it was the actual place where you were like supposed to like where all the boys slept and where we had like
we stayed in the hotel.
Yeah. And you walk looking out of it, you were just like, man, this is like an old, about to fall apart building. And you walk in, and there's concrete floors. There's a big old ceiling. And
do you remember walking in and right to the left that bear?
Yeah, I remember that.
We had a bear.
We had a big old bear. He was standing up. He was looking. Yeah. I remember the first time. This is super random. I remember the first time I smashed my finger from the two doors because the doors were kind of weird. In the sense that it was a two-door thing, and you had to open them both at the same time. You couldn't open one at the time because they had the
bolt latch didn't work.
Right, the bolt latch didn't work, so you had to open them at the same time. And I remember as a kid not fully grasping that concept. Yeah. So I would often like either just not get in or get out. Yeah. So I'd always have someone else to do that for me. But I remember one time when I was trying to like get out, I think, and then I was closing the doors, and then like my hand somehow
got stuck in there.
Yeah, and it smashed my finger. And as a little kid, you'd cry a lot about that.
We're not going to mention any of the boys' names. We never mentioned them back in the day. We're not going to mention them today. It's one of those privacy things that, and I think they need to have their own privacy and stuff. But there were certain boys that really stood out, and I know they stood out in your life. Was there any point in time where it was like, I'll always remember this moment?
I think the moment I'll always remember, I think my brain just always comes back to was when I think it was just one day where I don't know what exactly was happening. I don't remember like the schedule or anything about that. I just remember one day, so that place was in a very unique layout. You had you were on top of a hill basically at the boys ranch, and there was a place you had to go downhill, and it wasn't like a gentle hill.
No, it was like hill.
It was practically a drop.
Yeah.
And sometimes we would walk down the hill and go to the court, playing area basically, and it was a basketball court.
Mm-hmm.
It was also a place where it was also a safe place to burn like cardboard,
trash, whatever. Yeah.
What was ever out there. It was safe for that, and it had a really old church that you managed to refurbish into a recording studio.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember going down there, and not that I remember my first ollie, like you
I remember that, yes.
but I do remember just like being.
Or about 6.
Mm-hmm.
And out in our front yard, which wasn't really a yard, but in our front yard, we were teaching you how to ollie. And I think the time you're talking about is his first ollie on concrete.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking. He's only like 5 or 6. You know, and he wants to be with his brothers, and his brothers are 15 to 18.
Right.
You know, so
they're allowed to get hurt.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a little different for a 5-year-old kid.
Yeah, and then I skated forever. So to see you wanting to get on a skateboard and learn how to do something, and the first thing you learn is how to ollie, I was extremely happy. You know, like jealous too, because I wish I would have learned how to ollie when I was 5. I didn't learn how to ollie until I was like 13.
Wow.
You know.
But and the other core memory I have is when we built. I don't know exactly where. I just know there was like a wooded out place, and then there was like this big old dirt place, basically. And I think either somehow you convinced the boys, or the boys convinced you, and y'all made a like dirt. Ring.
Dirt. You mean you're talking about the dirt track for the bikes?
Yeah.
Yeah. We built ramps and everything else, and we built it's called a pump track. So you just pedal a little bit, then after that, the jumps and the humps get you to move, you know. Because we had a couple of boys that really were good on bikes. Not only were they good on skate, we didn't really have a place to skateboard but that flat ground.
Right.
You know? But, you know, we had a lot of woods to play in. And I did something very unique that most house parents didn't do. I made all my boys work every day. There's a Bible verse, and I'm not trying to quote the Bible. I'm not trying to get religious on anybody or anything, but the Bible verse it basically states, "Idle hands are the devil's playground." And I said that all the time. If the boys have nothing to do, they get into mischief, and it's true. If you don't have nothing to do, you get bored and you find things, and some of the things you find are not good things. So we built our own garden.
Right.
And all the boys, including you and Cypress and Isaiah, we'd all go out there and we built a garden, and we'd harvest the garden, and then we turned the garden into a bike park. You know, but it was we were always doing something with our hands. We were always getting involved in our little community. But did you see any of the other houses do that?
No.
I love you, man. I love you, dude. And those houses had more problems because they idled. Right. And I would never idle. It was always, let's go do something. Let's go down to the creek and do something. Let's go work. Let's put our hands to stuff. It was always because I didn't want y'all playing video games all the time. But yet we did play video games.
We played video games quite a lot. Yeah. It was one of those, it wasn't like all the time, but
No.
there was like some moments where like, it was always like a group thing. I remember that. If we were going to play video games, first off, it was the biggest treat to have.
Yeah.
I think for the boys, it was like insane. But
Yeah.
like, for me, I was a kid. I couldn't really play games.
Right.
So I mostly watched. I remember when we got the 360. And I don't remember what we had. It wasn't, I don't think it was Call of Duty, but it was something close to it. I know it was military adjacent game. And like, I just remember specifically being on that big ass couch we had.
Huge couch.
It was huge. That thing was enormous.
Yeah.
And it was
You
it was
could fit like 9 people
Yeah,
on this
and
leather couch.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it was a corner couch too. It,
Yep.
like it had a corner to it. And I just remember sitting on that big old couch, and I don't know who was playing. I was just remember just being there and just kind of just like,
In the moment.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of my core childhood memories.
Now some of my memories of that place, that kitchen table. So I built this 15-foot diameter kitchen table so we can all sit around it. But the center of the table was about this big. I don't know if you could see this one, but it was a turnstile.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it was like we put all the food on it, and all you had to do is just turn it, and they could pull off what they wanted. You pulled off what you wanted, and you put it back and turn it around. And we kept doing that. And I had, I wouldn't let anybody turn it because they would,
They try to.
yeah, they would try to whip it around. But, I would turn it and, everybody get what they needed off of it, and we'd all eat. You have plenty of room to, to set your plate and everything. But that table, the most unique table ever built in my entire life, one of my proudest moments, and we used it all the time. It was a great sit down.
Yeah,
experience.
anytime it was like lunch or dinner, we used that table, and it was because there were so many of us.
Yeah,
it was you, Mom.
15 of us all
Yeah,
together.
it was like it was 15.
There's 5 of us in my family. We he's the youngest, and Cypress is our middle, and Isaiah is our oldest, and then there's me and Mom. So there's 5, and then I had 10 boys.
Right.
And so there was 15 of us that sat around this table, and I'll tell you this: our grocery bill once a week was $1,100.
Oh.
And we would buy a full cart, 15 gallons of milk. That lasted us a week, and it really didn't last us a week.
It really it didn't. Oh my God, I remember this now, where we were not like the most annoying people in Walmart, but like we were definitely a headache for a lot of people because we didn't have like a full 1 cart. We had like
7.
Yeah, 7 full carts of groceries, and like.
I don't know. I don't think you guys were there at the time. I think it was just me and Mom. We went to Walmart, and the register could only take so many items. And so we had 2 receipts, and both of those receipts were 6 foot long. And we bought snacks and everything else. Hopefully now they got a Sam's Club card or a Costco card, because that you would always have to do in bulk, and we had to like order ours or get it from Walmart. Hopefully now they're like doing the Sam's Club runs,
right?
Where they're buying
back
massive bulk.
Yeah, because I know back in the day, like we could in bulk wasn't like a thing for us.
No, because there wasn't a Costco's nearby. There wasn't a Sam's Club nearby. It was, we're going to Walmart, we're going to Kroger's, we're going to local grocery stores, trying to get the best deals, because we were limited on the amount we had to spend, and it had to last a week.
Right.
So preparing meals, and that was the other thing. I don't know if anybody else, any other house parent did, but we did. The boys got involved. Like we had a list of chores, and so like these 2 boys are going to cook for the next week, and they would come in and either help me or help Mom cook and get everything ready. And then while they're doing that, other boys had other chores to do, like sweep the front porch or, things like that. We didn't really push chores on you guys except to clean your bedroom, because that was your area and you had to take care of. But the common areas the boys took care of. We didn't give you guys chores on that because me and Mom felt that we were forcing you guys into that position because that was our job. And so we wanted to give you guys the best that we possibly could for your freedoms of things to do, but also kind of give you a little bit more of your own, If we had our own home, it would be different. You would have a chore to do that take a week, and Isaiah would have a chore to do, and Cypress would have a chore, and we'd rotate those chores, and you'd be able to learn all those things and teach all those, understand all those things that we could teach you as a parent. but we had 10 extra kids to do that.
Right.
And they didn't have a lifetime with mom and dad. They had 2 to 3 years.
Right. Like they had a very, very limited time.
And and they would have a bunch of issues. I mean, we're talking, you're bringing in a kid that should be in the 10th, 11th, 12th grade, and their education could be a 5th, 6th, or 7th grade education. And then you had to teach them stuff like how to write a check. You had to teach them, at the time we weren't allowed to teach them how to drive, but you try to teach them things so when they walk away from that facility, they're going to do something good.
Right.
You know.
So, we're about to close out this episode. It was supposed to be a lot shorter than this, but
oh, that's all right.
That's totally fine. Before we go, Dad, do you have like a favorite memory from the ranch that is either just like really funny or just one that always sticks with you?
The one that sticks with me was the bicycle tire falling off. That one kind of sticks with me. It was all because the cops made it funny. It was like Laurel, Hardy and Laurel, which y'all probably don't know who that is, but we're talking. It was like, when the cops showed up, because there was an incident. I won't go into detail because there's a lot of names, and if you understand the names, you'll understand the kids. And they know, if they're watching, they'll know and they'll understand. So there was a bicycle incident in midair. A tire gets flown off. I think the boy passed out in midair.
I think that's what happened.
When the cops showed up, it was like live action Jackass. There was no better way to explain it. They were thinking some guy on a motorcycle got hit by a car in the middle of an intersection. We live out in the middle of nowhere on a dirt road. There is no freaking intersection. Where are you getting this information from? And they're out there, hands on their holsters, like they're going to arrest everybody, you know, and they see a bunch of teenage kids out there. I mean, it was a Jackass show if you've ever seen in my entire life, but it reminded me of Jackass more than ever. So that is one thing that I will remember more than anything else. That will stick with me. The Ollie, that sticks with me. There's a bunch of little bitty things that really stick with me. There are some big things that are like, you know what, if I had the chance to go do it again, I would have done it differently, but I'm glad I did what I did. I love you, man. I love you. What is this? You want to... Hey, only you can prevent drug debt.
No, yeah.
Man, having fun making them dirt mounds and stuff like that, that was a blast. And then the boys enjoyed it, and then they enjoyed actually doing something with something that they made.
Right.
You know, watching them create. I think this ramp should be like this, and this hump should be like this, and let's do it. And they would invest into it, and then they got to see what they could do with it. And that is what really I enjoyed at all 3 locations that me and your mom worked at. And we really pushed that, you know, paintball out in the woods in Missouri.
Oh my God, yeah.
Lots of fun in doing that, you know. Yeah, each place has its own. My RC car jumping, you know, 12 feet in the air and just coming down and smashing into pieces. And I don't know if you remember, but we did a box car. I built a box car. And we were sliding around.
I remember that. Yeah, oh my God.
I about killed a kid in that one. Fun things. We had a lot of fun things. But out of all that, you know, I mean, 58 kids have been in our lives.
Mm.
And out of the 58, only one of them has, you know, not gone the way that anybody would want that person to go. But out of 58, you know, it was awesome. It was awesome. What about you?
Oh, for me, I feel like there's too many just to count.
Yeah, too many little bitty ones that were like, man, we went to Magic Springs almost every other weekend, and we went to concerts, and you know,
like
we got to do a lot of things that we don't do now because, well, we can't afford it. But you know, But if you want to go to our Patreon anytime or start a Patreon for us, then we can afford to go.
All right.
I have one question before we shut all this down.
All right.
I know we're going a little long. So I got to pull the trigger on this because the trigger needs to be pulled. Drunk Dad's going to change just a little bit. And my most important question to ask you about Drunk Dad is, I drink. Do you ever feel that I drink to the point where it's not good for me?
No. No.
So me drinking is not a huge concern.
No.
So it shouldn't concern you that I drink. But just remember, when all else fails, all failures quit. Drinkers drink, so don't be a failure and drink on up.
Oh, man. Hey, that was good.
Awesome.
Oh man. I feel like I've been sitting all day.
Mm-hmm.